Hi everyone, my name is Jessie Sable and I am Ashlyn's mom, and this is my story. So my story starts out in Ottumwa, Iowa. That is where I was born and raised. I was born on August 12th, 1978. My mom's name is Tony and my dad's name is Joe. I have a sister by the name of Heather and a brother by the name of TJ and another brother by the name of Joey. I feel like our childhood was just like a typical childhood. We were happy-go-lucky and full-of-life kids. My parents did divorce when we were younger, so we lived with our mother. My mother was poverty-stricken due to being a single mom and my dad not paying child support. So we lived off state assistance. I look back now and I realize that, but I think as we were growing up, we didn't realize that because I don't think really kids do. So we were just typical kids. We enjoy being outside. We just loved life until one day my sister and I's life took a tragic turn for the worse. So what had happened was is my mom had a boyfriend, and that boyfriend was sexually abusing my sister and I. And so I went to the school. I told my school counselor, and because my mom did not believe us, we were taken out of the home and placed in foster care. Our foster parents' names were Rose and Larry McKim. They also had two children of their own, but all my sister and I could think of is wanting to be back with our mother. This was very traumatic for us. I think looking back now, it really did change the course of our life. And I'd like to say now I feel like it did it for the better, but what we had to go through to get to where I am today was very sad and very traumatic. Years in foster care seemed like a lifetime. We were not treated right. We were treated like the outcasts. My adopted parents treated their real kids way better. So in 1992, my sister and I were adopted by the McKims, and not only were we adopted, but our names changed. So our identity now has been fully stripped from us. We became Heather and Jessica McKim. And not only did our last names change, but our middle names changed as well. So my name became, it was Jessica Irene Parker, and now it became Jessica Ann McKim. Here we are adopted, different names, and the rules change. They threw a curveball at us. So because they adopted us, now we have to call them mom and dad. And we weren't given the time to do that. We were forced. And so if we didn't call them mom and dad, they would ground us for every time we called them by the real name. And let's just say my sister and I were grounded quite a bit because we did not feel that connection. You know what I mean? We weren't treated like their children. So why should we have to call them mom and dad? But eventually we end up calling them mom and dad. In the fall, after my sister and I were adopted, I started my 9th grade year and I tried out for sports and I joined a lot of clubs, and I really just kind of dived into my schoolwork and just, school in general, friends, all that stuff, because I felt like the more I could spend at school, the less I had to spend at home. I ended up getting kicked out of my foster parents' home, our adopted parents' home, at 17 and a half. So this was in the summer or spring of 96. And I ended up getting in touch with my bio mom, and she came down to see me and talked me into coming up to Davenport because she had moved early 90s to Davenport, and asked if I wouldn't mind just coming to see what it's like and to see if maybe I wanted to move to Davenport. Right around the time I graduated, I did meet a guy, and he became the father of two of my children. I would say that our relationship started off very healthy, and eventually he started drinking alcohol more and more, and I believe became addicted. I became a victim of domestic violence. I was pregnant with my child. We were together for about 7 months when I found out I was pregnant. And during that pregnancy with my son, he was very abusive. And I can probably tell you I left so many times but went back. I mean, that's typically what happens when you're in a domestic violence relationship. I look back and I'm thinking, wow, what was I thinking? But then I also think too, like if I didn't stick it out, I wouldn't have the children that I have. So, it is a blessing in disguise. In February of 1998, Ethan Christopher was born, and he was born at 6:42 in the evening. And he actually ended up having to spend several days in the hospital after he was born because the umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck, and he lost a lot of oxygen to the brain. And due to that, to this day, he sort of struggles with a learning disorder. And so he has been diagnosed with intellectual disability. And I look back now and I'm just like, I probably should have just left, but I didn't. And so I wanted Ethan to have Christmas with his paternal grandmother, which is Tony's mom. And so I said, if things don't get better, I'm leaving by the 26th. Well, in October, so I want to say I set this date like in early October, and by mid-October I found out that I was pregnant with my second child. And so I started to like maybe recant that date a little bit. I'm thinking like, well, maybe now I'm having two babies, maybe I should rethink staying and just trying to help him and fix this issue that he's got. And so December 26th came and gone, and I was still there. And then somewhere, I think in the first part of January, something super bad happened to where it was a wake-up call for me, and I left. I ended up having my daughter Ashlyn in July of 1999, and she was a healthy baby girl. And I never ended up going back to their biological father. In fact, I took him to court and got full custody of my children. I was working a lot because I had two children to raise. So I worked a lot of jobs, and eventually I ended up meeting my husband now in 2002. Bruce had a daughter by the name of Corey, and she was the same age as Ethan and Ashlyn, so it worked perfect. So I inherited a stepdaughter. So in 2004, we got married, and then I kind of put my career goals and my education on hold. After getting married, I focused on raising our kids and, just creating a family that, I always wanted. And I did work, and I worked as a preschool teacher at Creative World Preschool in Davenport. And I worked there for probably about a year, and I found out that I was pregnant with my third child, Bruce's second child. And in 2005, Megan Isabella was born. We had a little girl. And after Megan was born, I went back to school. I decided I wanted to go to school and get my bachelor's degree in social work. And I was going to school to get my early education minor, but I decided that social work was a field that I was really passionate in, and I started thinking about my life and how I wanted to make a difference, with children who had a past like mine, and how I could change that for the better. In 2011, I graduated with my bachelor's degree in psychology. And I started my first position as a foster care caseworker at Lutheran Social Services in Illinois. I worked at Lutheran Social Services for about 3 years. I worked with foster care kids who were taken out of their home and placed in foster care and possibly got adopted. Then I decided that I wanted to get my master's degree in psychology. And so I started going back to school to get my master's degree. And in the meantime, I started a job at Family Resources. And I am proud to say that I have been at Family Resources now for 7 years. And I started out as a peer support specialist in the integrated health home, and then went to a care coordinator. And then I eventually, after I got my master's, so congratulations to me, I graduated with my master's in 2014. I like to say that life will give you curveballs. Life will always throw something at you, and you just have to be able to, grab it and turn it into something positive. After having kids, I felt like it was my job to make sure that they had a really good role model. Yes, I know I married a really good guy, and he is a really good role model for my kids. That's who they call dad. But I felt like as their mom, I needed to, raise the bar a little bit. I wanted them to be able to look up at their mom and say, wow, she has come so far in her life, and she is, she's succeeded. And everything that she's tried to do. Yes, granted, it has taken me a really long time, but I'm here. And I like to say that I, push these values on my kids because I don't ever want them to give up, because yes, there's going to be some major bumps in the road, but you can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it.